The morning started like every other on Clearwater Ranch, quiet, sun-baked, and smelling faintly of hay and diesel. I had just finished my first coffee when I heard it, a low roar cutting through the stillness. Not a tractor. Not a pickup. Something heavier. Something wrong. I stepped out onto my porch, squinting into the bright Texas sky, just as a small private plane dipped dangerously low over the north pasture. What the hell? I muttered, watching it wobble, engine sputtering like a dying beast. The plane clipped the top of my old windmill, metal screeching as blades flew through the air like shrapnel. Then it barreled down, skidding across the field with a trail of smoke before finally slamming into a mesquite thicket. Dust. Fire. Silence. My body moved before my mind could catch up. I jumped into my rattling blue ATV and tore across the uneven field. The moment I reached the crash site, adrenaline kicked into overdrive. The aircraft was a mess, wing bent like a child had twisted it, windshield shattered, fuselage crumpled. But inside, I could see him, a man maybe in his mid-40s, suit torn, face bloodied, struggling with the seatbelt that had likely just saved his life. "I'm here. Don't move," I yelled, yanking open the damaged door. He coughed, winced. "Fuel. Shut it off." I saw the fuel leaking onto the dry grass, the worst place in Texas for a spark to fly. I reached under the warped console and twisted the cutoff valve. No explosion today. I helped him out of the wreckage, one arm slung over my shoulder as we stumbled away from the plane. He groaned with every step, his right leg clearly injured. When we reached a safer patch of ground, he collapsed into the shade of a pecan tree. "Name's Nathan," he rasped out. "Thanks for coming." "I'm Luke," I replied, checking his pulse and breathing. "Stable, but shaken. Don't talk too much. I'll call EMS." I reached for my phone, already thinking about which gate to unlock for the ambulance, when a shrill voice pierced the quiet. What in God's name is going on here? I didn't need to turn around to know who it was. Of all the people who could have shown up first, it just had to be her. Karen. Not a nickname. Her real name. And she lived in the new development that sliced right up against the edge of my ranch, the one she had publicly declared was too wonderful for livestock and dirty tractors. She stormed toward us, heels sinking into the soft pasture dirt, face scrunched in pure outrage instead of any hint of concern. "You can't dump wrecked airplanes on my property line," she screeched. "This is a peaceful gated community. Do you know how much my home is worth?" Nathan stared, bewildered. I wasn't sure whether to help him or apologize for exposing him to this wild specimen. "Karen," I said slowly, "a plane crashed. This man is injured. We need emergency." "Oh, I know the law," she snapped, already dialing her phone. "I am reporting you for staging a dangerous event. And trespassing. And creating an aviation hazard." I blinked at her. "An aviation hazard?" "Yes." She shrieked, as if she had caught me in the act. "You and your ranch caused this. Ranches causing plane crashes. That was a new one." "To be clear," I said, pointing at the bent windmill. "He hit my property, not the other way around." Karen ignored logic entirely. "This is an HOA community. We have rules. No loud machinery, no danger, no," she waved her arms frantically at the field, "crashed airplanes." Nathan coughed a laugh, then winced in pain. "I'm going to call emergency services," I said, but Karen waved her finger in my face. "Oh no, you won't. I already called the sheriff, and I told them you're harboring criminals and endangering residents. They will shut this ranch down." "Unbelievable." She turned away, nose high, pacing like she was orchestrating a disaster relief effort, while the actual injured man lay on the ground trying not to pass out. I crouched next to Nathan. "Just breathe. Help is coming." "Is she always like that?" he whispered. "That's her being reasonable," I said. We didn't wait long before the distant sound of sirens reached us, multiple, judging by the overlapping wails. Karen perked up like a meerkat. Finally. Justice. But as the vehicles crested the hill, something unexpected happened. Not just sheriff's cars. Not just ambulances. A black SUV. Blacked out windows. Government plates. The kind you don't see unless someone very important or very involved in something secret gets into trouble. Karen froze mid-rant. Her bravado faltered for the first time. "What? What is that?" Nathan's eyes followed the SUV. "They found me fast," he murmured. "You expecting them?" I asked quietly. He nodded. "Let's just say this crash wasn't an accident." A chill crawled up my spine. And Karen, who had just tattled to the entire county, was about to learn that she hadn't just called the cops. She'd triggered something far bigger. Something that was already watching. The first responders rushed past Karen like she was an annoying backyard lawn ornament. She tried waving her arms, talking over them, and demanding attention, none of which worked. 2 paramedics kneeled at Nathan's side, checking vitals and preparing to lift him onto a stretcher. His breathing steadied, but he still looked like he had secrets hidden behind clenched teeth. The sheriff's patrol trucks pulled up seconds later, Deputy Carson among them. I knew Carson since we were kids. He nodded at me before radioing updates. Then the black SUV door opened. A tall woman stepped out, buttoned black suit, dark sunglasses, braided hair pulled sharply back. She scanned the wreckage. And then she scanned us. Her expression gave nothing away. Karen practically sprinted up to her. "Thank goodness someone with actual authority is here," she shrilled. "This farmer caused an airplane to crash. And now he has government agents covering for him." Anne. One subtle raise of the woman's hand silenced Karen like a remote-controlled toy. "Ma'am," she said flatly, "please step away from the crash site." Karen sputtered like a broken sprinkler. I live here. Property owner. HOA board member." "You can't tell me." The agent turned slightly. "If you approach the wreckage again, you will be detained." I had to look away to hide a laugh. The agent knelt and leaned near Nathan, speaking quietly. I strained to catch even a few words but only heard fragments. "Tracking. Compromised. Protocol moved up. Secure the device." The words meant nothing to me, yet everything about them felt explosive. 2 more agents appeared, scanning the field with handheld instruments. They weren't looking for survivors. They were looking for something lost. Helicopter, controlled airspace on a ranch? Deputy Carson pulled me aside. "Luke. You okay?" "Fine," I said, eyes fixed on the agents. "What's going on?" He shifted uncomfortably. "I'm not cleared to know. And trust me, when I'm not cleared, it's serious." Karen, still watching, finally noticed she was losing control of the situation. She stomped toward me, face blotchy red. "This is your fault," she snapped. "All of it." "How exactly?" I asked. "You attract chaos. Planes are falling from the sky. My neighborhood's property value is dropping by the second." "Lady," I said, "there's a man who nearly died. Maybe focus on that." "Oh please," she scoffed. "He's faking. Look at that expensive suit. He's probably a criminal." Nathan, despite being drugged and bandaged, raised an eyebrow. "Your concern is touching." Karen jabbed a finger toward him. I called these officers. Me. And I demand that you leave this area. Her voice cracked like brittle glass. One of the agents overheard her, stepping in with robotic precision. You, she said, pointing at Karen. What did you see during or after the crash? Karen blinked. Well, finally someone wants my. We need a precise statement. Nothing embellished. Karen's mouth opened and closed. Then, realizing she wouldn't get to rant, she huffed and crossed her arms. I saw a plane crash. That's all. Oh. And the rancher didn't prevent it. He didn't even try. Ma'am. The agent replied, are you implying he was supposed to fly into the air and catch it? Karen gasped. No. But, well, just look at him. The agent turned away, effectively dismissing her from the universe. I almost felt bad for her. Almost. Detective, what is Nathan hiding? Nathan was loaded into the ambulance, though the government agent followed immediately behind, clearly not letting him out of sight. Before they closed the doors, he grabbed my arm with surprising strength. Luke, he said, voice low. This isn't over. I need your help. Help with what? I whispered. Someone will come for the plane. Not them. Someone worse. A chill crawled down my neck. What's on that aircraft? His eyes met mine. Something that can't fall into the wrong hands. Before I could ask anything else, the agent shoved a clipboard against my chest. You're the property owner? Sign here. What's going to happen to the wreckage? I asked. It will be recovered and classified, she answered. You are ordered to stay away from the debris. And tell no one what you saw. I considered pointing at Karen and saying, too late, but I figured that would ignite the chaos again. Karen thought she won. When the government caravan finally left, Karen stormed up to me again. You are going to pay for this. She hissed. I'm filing a full HOA complaint. Your ranch has become a national safety threat. Expect legal action by morning. She spun around dramatically and stomped away toward her neighborhood, heels wobbling in the soft dirt. I shook my head. You have no idea what you just invited into your life, I muttered. Waxing crescent moon night falls, and someone watches. By dusk, the ranch felt too quiet. Coyotes held their breath. The cattle stuck close to fences. Even the wind seemed to whisper warnings. I went to check the crash site one last time. It was roped off but still smoking slightly. Shattered glass twinkled in the moonlight. Then, movement. A shadow near the wreckage, crouched low. Human. Slowly scanning rubble with a flashlight. Not government issue. A stranger. My heart thudded. Hey! I barked, hand moving toward the holster on my belt. The figure snapped upright, then bolted into the darkness faster than any trespasser I'd ever seen. Not a jog. Not a sprint. A blur. I stood frozen. Whatever was on that plane. People were willing to kill for it. Maggie hadn't slept since the crash. She sat in her kitchen with a chipped mug of coffee, eyes fixed on the worn linoleum as if it held answers. The morning sun cast beams through the dusty window, lighting up the silence that hung heavy around her. Her thoughts were interrupted by a soft knock at the back door, the officers from last night, Detective Cole and Deputy Harris. Their expressions were more serious now, less passive. We found this near the wreckage, Cole said, holding up an orange device, the plane's black box. Maggie's heart skipped. That doesn't belong to me. We know, Cole replied. But we think you might want to hear what's on it. He placed a portable reader on the table, plugged the black box in, and pressed play. A crackle. A strained voice. Mayday. Mayday. Fuel. It wasn't supposed to, a loud bang. Static. Then the chilling final words. They sabotaged us. Maggie's eyes widened. Sabotaged? Deputy Harris leaned forward. The pilot survived. He's in stable condition at the hospital, but he hasn't woken up yet. We need to know if you've seen anyone unusual around your ranch recently. Karen's face flashed in Maggie's mind, her nosy neighbor, her constant harassment, her attitude like she owned the entire countryside. Just the usual, Maggie answered carefully. Coyotes, buzzards. And the neighbor woman who thinks she's queen of the county. Both officers exchanged a look. Cole's jaw tightened. We also found footprints leading away from the crash. Not from ranch boots, city sneakers. Maggie frowned. Who would sabotage a small plane? Cole stood up. That's what we intend to find out. But we need you to stay vigilant. Whoever did this may come back. As they left, Maggie noticed a black sedan parked along the dirt road. Tinted windows. Motionless. Watching. Her stomach knotted. By noon, Karen's screechy voice came echoing across the fence line like nails on a chalkboard. There you are, country trash. Karen marched up in a bright floral robe and sunglasses big enough to hide most of her face. I spoke with the sheriff again, and I am filing a complaint. You're harboring criminals and endangering the community. Maggie took a slow breath. Karen, a plane crashed. People nearly died. Maybe stop making it about yourself. Oh, I will make it about myself because, this. Karen whipped out her phone, waving it like a trophy. Security footage. I filmed everything from my upstairs window. The sheriff is going to see you cause that crash. You and your backward farm. Maggie's blood boiled, but she kept her voice even. What exactly do you think I did, Karen? Drag the plane from the sky with a rope? Karen's lips curled. Your ranch is suspicious. You never let people visit. You're always out late. Hiding something. Maggie stepped closer, glaring. What I do on my land is none of your damn business. Well, Karen snapped, the cops think otherwise. Maggie froze. Do they? No, the officers had been concerned, not accusing. Karen was lying. Stirring drama like always. Still. Doubt crept in. And one more thing, Karen added smugly, pointing at the destroyed fence, you'll be paying to fix the fence between our properties. I refuse to stare at your little barn longer than necessary. Maggie nearly laughed. The fence isn't even on your property, Karen. Details, Karen waved dismissively. You'll be hearing from my lawyer. And with a toss of her robe like a cape, she strutted away, right toward the black sedan. Maggie watched, eyes narrowing. Karen leaned into the passenger window and spoke quickly. The tinted glass hid whoever sat inside, but Maggie could see the driver's silhouette, still and focused. She's working with them. That night, Maggie positioned herself on the ranch porch with her rifle across her lap. Coyotes howled in the distance. Owls hooted from the cottonwoods. But her attention stayed locked on the road. The sedan was gone. But its tire marks remained, deep, fresh, circling like a predator. Her dog, Buck, sat pressed against her leg, fur on edge. Lights flickered near the crash site, flashlights moving through the darkness. Maggie whispered, Buck, go. The dog darted silently toward the field. A moment later, a bark, then a sharp yelp. Maggie bolted upright, heart racing. She grabbed the rifle and sprinted toward the crash site, boots kicking up dirt. Two figures were crouched by the wreckage, dressed in dark clothing, packing pieces of the plane into bags. Buck lay a few feet away, stunned but alive. Hey! Maggie shouted. One intruder spun around, pulling out a gun. Maggie dove behind a hay bale. A gunshot cracked through the air. Dust sprayed into her eyes. "Back off, lady," a voice growled. Maggie fired into the air, a warning. "This is private property. Drop the weapon." The two men hesitated, then fled into the night, disappearing toward the creek. Sirens wailed in the distance. Deputy Harris' truck roared up seconds later, officers storming the field, guns drawn. Maggie rushed to Buck, hugging his neck. "Good boy. You're okay." Cole knelt beside the wreckage, examining what remained. "They were trying to remove evidence," he muttered grimly. "Someone wants this crash erased." Maggie looked toward the empty road, where the black sedan had been parked earlier. And where Karen had stood just hours ago. Cole followed her gaze, then asked quietly. "Do you know anyone who might benefit from covering this up?" Maggie clenched her fists, jaw tightening. "Yes," she whispered. "I do." Morning came with a tension that wrapped around the ranch like a noose. Maggie sat at the kitchen table again, but this time she wasn't alone. Detective Cole stood by the window, staring out across the fields as though expecting the intruders to return. Deputy Harris sifted through paperwork, photos of tire tracks, footprints, and aerial shots of the crash site. The room felt smaller with every passing second. "So," Cole finally said, turning, "tell us about your neighbor." Maggie folded her arms. "Karen is a storm in human form. Loud. Nosy. Obsessed with everyone else's business. She hates that I live here because she thinks the land should belong to her new housing development." Harris raised an eyebrow. "Housing development?" "Yeah," Maggie nodded. "Her husband is a real estate developer. They've been buying up land around the county for years. They wanted my property. Made me offers. Threats. Then, conveniently, a plane falls from the sky right onto my land." Cole rubbed his chin. "Do you think Karen or her husband are connected to whoever sabotaged that plane?" Maggie shrugged, but her gaze hardened. "I think she's up to her neck in something bad. Her and those black sedan creeps." Cole exchanged a sharp look with Harris. "We ran the plates from the sedan," Harris said. "Government contractor. Blackwing Aviation." The name made Maggie's skin crawl. "Government? Like military?" "Not exactly," Cole replied. "They do private contracts. Sometimes legal. Sometimes, well, very not legal." Maggie stood, pacing. "So what does that have to do with a pilot screaming sabotage before crashing into my ranch?" Cole inhaled slowly. "We think the pilot was fleeing something. Maybe someone. And he didn't make it far enough." Before Maggie could respond, Buck barked outside, a warning. Cole unholstered his weapon and moved to the door. Karen stood on the porch. But this wasn't the loud, robe-wearing Karen. This Karen had makeup perfectly done, hair professionally styled, and a white envelope clutched so tight the paper wrinkled against her nails. "Maggie," she said, voice trembling, "we need to talk." Cole stepped forward. "Ma'am, you need to back away." Karen brushed past him like he was nothing but wind. "They're watching me," she whispered, eyes darting everywhere. "You don't understand. They said if I talk, if I tell anyone, they'll." Maggie grabbed her shoulders. "Slow down. Who is watching you?" Karen swallowed hard, lower lip quivering. "Blackwing. They made my husband sign a contract. He said it was just land rights, but then last week, he heard something he shouldn't have. About planes. Missing engines. Stolen fuel systems. And then, he disappeared. They told me he relocated for business, but," her voice cracked, "I found blood on his truck seat." Maggie's anger fizzled into shock. "Karen. Why didn't you go to the police?" Karen's eyes flicked to Cole. You think I didn't? Someone made sure there was no record. They have police on payroll. Government, too. Cole stiffened. Karen leaned closer to Maggie like a frightened child. When the plane crashed here, they thought your ranch camera caught it. They've been watching, waiting for the chance to take everything. They want this property because it's the last blind spot in the surveillance grid. A window shattered. Karen screamed as a bullet tore through the kitchen wall, splintering wood. Down! Cole threw himself over the women, Harris already returning fire out the window. The sedan was back, screeching up the dirt road, doors flying open as masked men fired toward the house. Adrenaline surged through Maggie's veins. She scrambled across the floor, grabbed her rifle from beside the door, and darted onto the porch on the opposite side, flanking them. Buck growled beside her, fur bristling. Come on then. Maggie shouted, firing a shot into the air as warning. The attackers ducked behind the vehicle, but one peeked up, and Maggie clipped his shoulder. He dropped with a yelp. Cole sprinted around the corner, weapon aimed. Drop your weapons. This is law enforcement. Everything happened fast. One attacker grabbed the wounded man and shoved him into the car. The other jumped into the driver's seat. The sedan peeled out, tires ripping up dirt, dust cloud swallowing them in retreat. Silence settled like dust after a stampede. Karen sobbed into her hands. Cole lowered his gun, breathing heavily. Well. That confirms it. Someone wants this covered up, badly. Maggie checked on Buck, still standing strong. They're scared. And scared men make mistakes. Cole's phone buzzed violently. He glanced at the screen, eyes widening. The pilot woke up, he announced. And he's asking for you, Maggie. Karen stared at her, confusion through tears. Why you? Maggie didn't have an answer. But she felt, deep in her bones, that everything was about to shift. The hospital smelled like disinfectant and fear. Machines beeped softly in rhythm with the pilot's heartbeat. His eyelids fluttered open when Maggie stepped into the room. He winced, voice weak but urgent. You're the ranch owner? She nodded. I am. What happened up there? He swallowed and whispered. I wasn't supposed to survive. They were using the plane to move stolen tech. Defense grade. I tried to expose them. They shut the fuel off remotely. Maggie froze. Why crash on my land? You have no idea what your ranch sits on. He struggled for breath. Satellite dead zone. No tracking. Only place in 50 miles they couldn't follow me. I was trying to land. Warn someone. Before they killed me too. Maggie's pulse pounded in her ears. And those men? Cole asked. Blackwing, the pilot rasped. They'll do anything to get that cargo before the government realizes. His voice faded as morphine surged through his veins, dragging him under again. Maggie stepped back, breath knocked out. Her ranch was no longer just home. It was ground zero for a conspiracy deadly enough to kill over